What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here with a late night review of the Atlanta United game, and things got a little crazy. Um, so, yeah, let's talk about obviously the big talking point of the game, those two red cards. So first of all, I did want to come back and actually look at the replay and see, was it a penalty. First of all, it wasn't offsides. You could see in the replay the last defender, he was barely off screen, but you could see he was a couple steps behind Martinez, keeping him onside. So correct call there. The penalty, at first I was like, is that a little soft? But watching the replay, he really does come from behind on Martinez and get mainly the back of his calf and a little bit of the ball, but not enough. And yeah, I can totally see why you give that a penalty, because you mainly get the player and you're coming from behind. Kind of similar to the Krat situation in the New England game. Even though I disagree with that, you come from behind on any player, even if you don't get a whole lot of contact. It's a good chance you're putting yourself in a position for the referee to make that call. So I could totally see why he gave it. As far as the red cards are concerned, I think we can all agree that the second one was absolutely deserved. The first one, though, is where some people might have a little bit of disagreement. Oh, really, you're just going to card him for stepping into the box? But here's the thing. Bedoya has to be smarter, because the referee has already warned, like, pretty much everyone. Like, people have stepped in the box consistently, trying to slow down, trying to stop the play, and he's warned them. Like, there's one guy, I think his name was Trusty. Was that his name? I think. But he's talking to him, and he's like, back out of the box, back out. And he's not backing out, and he says, all right, I'll card you if you don't back out. And finally the guy's like, all right, backs out. So he's already warned. He said no more. Bedoya, on a yellow card, should know better. If somebody's going to step into the box to waste a little bit more time for hoping VAR is going to see something, it shouldn't be the guy on a yellow card. And so that, in my opinion, was a dumb decision by him. Because similar to if you're trying to stop somebody from getting a breakaway, but you're already on a yellow, you let them have the breakaway, because it's better to let them have a breakaway and let your team have a chance to stop them than to stop the breakaway, get a second yellow, and get yourself sent off. It's a similar thing here. You've got to know on a yellow card, the referee's already warned players, get out of the box. He's already gone to his pocket, threatening the card. The person on the yellow card should not be the one stepping in to slow down and try to buy more time. So, yes, it is a little bit harsh to give a second yellow for something like that. You don't normally see second yellows given for time wasting, but the referee had said no more. So I don't really have any sympathy for him. And then, of course, the other guy, just wow. And honestly, I'd be surprised if we saw him anytime soon, because the way he conducted himself is just not at all how a professional should. And this is, I don't think even Philadelphia fans would disagree with me on this one. Like, the way he just acted like a complete child is, in my opinion, embarrassing for the sport. And I hope it's something that they come back and say, you know what, that's ridiculous. The gestures he made, the fact that he made those, I don't know if he actually spit, but it looked like he spit at the referee. I mean, all that stuff is ridiculous. And it's not something that any professional, especially, at first I wonder, like, is he a younger player? Is that why he's just so dumb? But no, he's a veteran. He's 33. He's played for the Bosnia international team. I mean, he knows better. So to lose your cool like that is just completely unacceptable. And if anything less than a 5-game match ban, and honestly even that is kind of like the minimum, I would say, you got to look at that and say that's not acceptable. I mean, a fine should be coming this way. The club should say we don't condone that type of behavior, because I don't even think Philadelphia wants to be, associated with that. So anyway, aside from that, referee decisions, there were a couple here and there that were missed, but I thought overall he kept it consistent. He kept it pretty tight. He called the game pretty tight. Some fouls I thought were soft, but he called it both ways. So I thought overall, it was probably one of the more consistent referees we've seen. I will say I'm surprised he missed the handball entirely. From where we were sitting on the other side of the field, we could see that was clearly a handball, and the fact that it took VAR for him to see that, I mean, I would have understood if he called it like right outside the box, because even I thought maybe that was just outside, and then VAR says no, it's inside, but he didn't even call the handball. I was like, how can you miss that? The guy's arm is up here and it hits there. Anyway, but yeah, so I thought overall probably one of the better referees we've seen this season, which is good to know that there's actually a referee who can stay consistent. Anyway, with all that being said, as far as we're concerned, once again, the story of the game, we got to finish. I mean, I think we had 26 shots and 13 of them on target, and we only scored 3, and 2 of those were penalty kicks. There's a problem with that. And the big problem, I think, with it is, one, we're not taking our chances well. We're lashing at some shots. We're just hitting random shots from outside the box, hoping for the best, and they're flying up into the crowd. But also the shots that we're hitting on target are at the keeper. You know, I think he made... I'm trying to think if he made any, like, good saves, because I think most of the saves they had to make were just shots right at him. I can't remember one save where he had to actually get across to make the save. The Vasquez one was the only one, but God, I'll talk about that when I get to it. But, I mean, most of the saves he made tonight were just shots right at him. And most of them weren't that strong. There were a couple that had some pace, but most of them were just kind of right here, easy save, let's get up and go. So I feel like our shots that we're taking, we're forcing the shot. We're not trying to work it into a good space and actually have a good shot on goal and placing it away from the keeper. We're just pass, nothing's opening up. All right, well, I'm just going to have a random shot and then blocked or right at the keeper or dribbled. So I'm really frustrated with our finishing. I think that's something we've got to work on, because it's got to improve. We can't keep dominating games like this but still letting the other team have a chance because we're not putting our chances away. Because that's not something that we've done for most of the season. We've been, for the most part, very good with our finishing. It's only over the past few games that we just have stopped for some reason. The other thing to talk about is the one goal that we did give up. Perez again. And this is part of the bigger problem, which is our change of formation and after the red card, in my opinion, wasn't a good switch. We went back to what we sort of had last year, the 4-3-3. And in my opinion, it just wasn't a good idea. Because first of all, you've got that back four, and without Parkhurst as the last defender sort of covering for the mistakes of Perez and Escobar, without that, our defense is much more shaky. It's much less solid. And so I think that was something that hurt us because it allowed them to counter on us a bit better. And it's why, honestly, they actually had some good, decent chances in the second half. So that was part of it, but also the fact that we moved Gressel inside. That's not his position. And I know the idea is, now we've got back four, the two fullbacks provide the width, but the fact of the matter is, Gressel, his only position where he plays well is out wide. I know a lot of these people want to be like, oh, you can put him anywhere, he'll do great. You can put him at center back, he'd do great. I'm sorry, he's not that good. But the one thing he does well is he provides good width, and you get the ball out wide to him, he can deliver a good ball in. We've seen that this season. Inside, that's not his game. He doesn't have the ability to do a quick turn like Darlington Nagbe. He doesn't have the defensive capability of Jeff Larinowitz. So the only thing you get out of him when he's in the middle is maybe he'll complete a pass, possibly. Like, he completed one to Vasquez that he totally whiffed at the end of the second half. But that's like the only thing he did in the middle. The rest of it was a lot of giveaways. Honestly, I don't know why they decided to move him inside, because he's not effective in there. So that was part of it. And then also the fact that we're flooding guys forward, and that leaves us exposed on the counterattack. And now, obviously, they're 2 men down. The counterattack isn't going to be that effective. But at the same time, it kind of was, because there were moments where it felt like they might have a chance. They might be able to get back into this because we were letting them have the space, because we were flooding so many men forward and we weren't really providing the necessary cover to keep the counterattack from happening on us. So I just thought it was a weird switch, moving players out of position, putting ourselves in a position where if they did want to counter, they have a decent chance because they did have a lot of speed. That's the one thing that I thought really worked well for them is the speed on the counterattack was really, it's all they had with being 2 men down and stuff. So I was really disappointed with that switch from Tata because I felt like it really hurt us in a lot of ways. It hurt certain players. But aside from that, let's talk about individuals. Obviously, Brad, didn't have a whole lot to do. The one goal got megged, and it's not the first time I've seen that happen with him. I don't know. I mean, not much you can do when it's one-on-one and your defense completely leaves you exposed. So I do feel bad for him. As far as I guess it's hard to talk about it like positionally because we switch positions so much. But I'll talk about Chris first. He went out at halftime. I'm not sure if it's just sort of if it's like a precaution because he's just coming back from injury or if something maybe affected him in the first half. I hope not because we will need him for sure going forward. But for the most part, he did well, had one killer cross off the volley in the first half that really should have been a goal. So he has these moments where it's just like he really does well. He has good delivery. He works very hard on the wing. He's just a good, consistent player. Nothing spectacular, but I think he does very well no matter what position you put him in. He's just a player that can hold down and do well enough to keep the other team from having to, or keep us from having to worry about the other team really getting anything done. In the back three, Perez, like I said, just really frustrated with him. A couple really bad passes in the first half that just giveaways for no good reason. And then the lack of defensive work from time to time gets really, really frustrating. Balls over the top, and you're just kind of like at the beginning of the first half, nearly gave away one because the ball goes over the top, and he's lost track of his man, and now he's behind him. And thankfully, Brad came out and made a good save. It's one thing I forgot to talk about. But he does that from time to time. The goal, I'm not sure if it was the man he was marking, but he's one of the two, Mikey was the other one, that just kind of turned and watched as the guy's getting in behind, as the ball comes back across. Why are you not one of the ones tracking back? I realize they're trying to step up to play him offside, but you don't stop. And he does that. Ball goes in behind, players there, and he's not. His immediate reaction is to stop, turn and look at the AR, and raise his hand. And they're going and scoring a goal because you're doing that. And so, I don't know, I just get so frustrated when players do that. When they want to look at the referee and be like, oh, he's offsides. Do your job first. And then, if they score and you feel like he was offsides, then you can say something. But do your job first of all. And he doesn't do that enough. So I feel like that side of his game is why we need Michael behind him to provide the cover. So when he makes those mistakes, when he does stupid stuff, Michael's there to provide that balance. So he's not giving away goals willy-nilly. As far as Michael's concerned, had another good game, another solid performance from him overall. Honestly, can't really think of much else to talk about. He just consistently does his job well. Franco on the right side first started off as the right side of the back three and then became a right back and provided a lot of width for us in the second half. Defensively, he was solid enough, but I will say going forward, I don't see him as that right-sided player, the wing back where Julian's been playing, because his crosses and his deliveries aren't really good enough. If you're going to put him out there, make sure he has somebody to play with. Similar to, I think, Greg a little bit on the left side. He's able to move the ball around well, but to send the ball in, he's not really good enough to do that. Like, his deliveries aren't good enough for that. So, overall, I think he's a good, solid defender. He does well as a part of that back three, but I don't think he's got the offensive capabilities to be able to get up and down the line. So I think it would be better just keep him in the back. Keep him from having to get down the line a whole lot. Into the middle, well, I guess first talk about Julian a little bit. I feel like he's starting to drop off a little bit, similar to, I think, last year. There are moments where he pops up with something great, Even there are moments in this game, and I was talking to a guy that I work with, one of the coaches I work with. He said the exact same thing. There are moments when he pops up with something great. The volley in the first half off the crossbar, the turn and a nice hit in the second half, some of the crosses he delivers. There are moments like that. You can see the quality is there. But then he has that 15-minute interval in the first half where literally every ball that he touches is either a giveaway or it slows down our play, and then we have to turn around and go backwards. I've never seen a player so inconsistent. It's so bizarre to me to see somebody like that who will, what a great cross in, and then 2 minutes later, really, you couldn't find a 5-yard pass. How? So, I don't know. I have my moments where I'm just like, okay, he's doing okay. I can tolerate him being in. And then there are moments where I'm just like, get him off the field. We don't need him. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I see a whole lot that gets really, really frustrating from time to time. As far as the two in the middle, Darlington and Jeff both played pretty well. Both, their roles have become very apparent as this season has gone on. Darlington is the distributor, Jeff is the breakup play. They both do their jobs very well, and once again did them effectively tonight. And then, as far as the front three are concerned, Miguel had a pretty good game. His shots are probably the only part of his game right now that aren't good, and it's just mainly because he's trying to force them. He's really wants to score. You can see it, but that leads to I'm forcing this shot, and now it's wide, or it's not really that great of a shot. It's a dribbler right to the keeper. Ezekiel, he's working hard. There are moments when he's on the ball and it looks good, but you can just see the drop off has started. There's always that moment when somebody comes in and they're flying, they're doing incredible. There's that moment where they start to drop off a little bit. They have that dip in play, and he's hitting that right now. Over the past few games, he just hasn't been as effective. Either he's being bodied off the ball or his passes aren't really coming off. There's just always that something where it's like you could have done something different there. You got another pass on, or the pass was overcooked. So I feel like he needs to get back into his groove. What he was doing so well, I think, was the quick turn, the dribble, and then find a good pass. A simple one, not trying to force something. Because I think that's what he does well. But it's when he tries to do these really clever, chipped balls over the top, or he's trying to do a long pass over. He just needs to keep it simple, because he's very good at ball retention and keeping the play short. It's when he tries to get really clever and really cheeky that things stop working for him. So, and then as far as Joseph is concerned, obviously tying the hat trick record in only 30 games, that's pretty impressive. But overall, I thought he played well. There were moments in the first half where I felt like he could be working a bit harder. But I think you kind of see that with most strikers. They'll have that kind of dip in the game where they sort of turn off for a little bit. And that's normal for strikers. But I think where he starts to get really frustrating is whenever that turnoff becomes not just 10 minutes, it becomes 30 minutes. He hasn't been involved at all. But tonight it was definitely shorter that he wasn't involved in the game. And I mean, he was kind of isolated for a majority of the game because they were packing so many people back. I mean, he's in between at least two defenders and maybe a midfielder as well, and he's having to try to find space. So that is difficult. But he definitely popped up with some good, obviously the second goal was fantastic, and then, does well to convert both penalties. So overall, I was happy with him. As far as the subs that came in, Mikey Ambrose was the first one, and like I said, hopefully not an injury for McCann, hopefully just, keeping him fresh or keeping the injury from popping up again. But Mikey came on and did okay, he did well. I still think there are points in his game that you can see the weakness. He's a bit smaller, so if he's facing off against somebody that's got a lot of strength, he's not going to do well. There are moments when you can see he's not the most clever defender, and so if he gets beat, there was one point where he tried to drag the guy back, and I'm just like, why? Just chase him down. You've got enough speed to. There's no reason to pull him back and possibly get a yellow there. So I heard after the game was over on 92.9, they were gushing about him, oh, he's great, he's doing fantastic. He's doing good, but he's not quite there yet, which is why I'm hoping it's not an injury for him, because we need him to stay healthy since Greg is now out for months. Because I don't think Mikey is the finished product yet. I think he's good, I think he's solid, but there's still some gaps in his game that definitely need some filling, and I feel like Chris right now can be that left-sided player that we need, because he can get up and down the line pretty well, he delivers a good cross, and defensively he's solid. So I feel like that's what we need out there right now, whereas Mikey is close to being the finished product. He's got the speed to do it. He plays with, he moves the ball around very well. We've seen a couple, the second goal was a great slipped in behind ball for Miguel to get across. So he has some good moments on the ball, but it's mainly just the strength and I think the defensive knowledge where he lacks a little bit. But overall, I think he's done well with taking over that position. And then the last two were Brandon Vasquez and Romario Williams coming on for Ezekiel and Joseph. And both of them, didn't really have a whole lot of time to do much. Brandon definitely is the one that stands out a bit more because of that miss. Yeah, I know he's still young. I know he's still growing. But that's got to be a goal. It's a great ball in behind, one of the few good balls Julian delivered tonight, and you're one-on-one with the keeper, you take it around him. At that point, it's got to be a goal. And then you take 2 more touches and then try to hit it and right at the keeper. It wasn't good enough. And don't get me wrong, he hasn't played, I don't think he's played any MLS this year, and I don't even know if he's been playing in the USL either. So I don't know how much time he's even gotten to play actual competitive soccer. So this could be his first competitive minutes of the season, so maybe that had something to do with it. But we definitely, he's got some good height. He's got some good foot skills as well. We do need a player like him in some games. If Joseph's not having a good game, or if somebody's hurt, we may need him to step in. So we definitely need to get him back up to speed. And then Romario, I think he's a pretty good player. He's shown a few good moments. I think his work rate to win the ball back is fantastic. But I still think his touch needs to improve, and mainly just his all around awareness of what's going on. There are times whenever the pass is brilliant, but he's not making the run because he's making a completely different run. There are moments when his connection with players like Miguel needs to improve. So overall, though, it's a good win, 3-1. Should have been more, but it is a win, and it's something where we need to take this. Obviously, we got the U.S. Open midweek, the Open Cup midweek, so probably going to see a few players that don't really get a lot of playing time. Players like Andrew Carlton, Brandon Vasquez, Romario Williams, Miles Robinson probably. We're going to see some players like that, most likely. And hopefully, they are at a level where they can get the win. Because, we've got to... I'm not saying we've got to win the Open Cup, but we've got to at least beat these teams like Charleston Battery, and this year we've got to beat Miami FC. So I'm hoping that these players that don't get to see a lot of MLS playing time, they take their chances here in the Open Cup. I would like to see either Michael or Jeff play, just because I think that veteran experience really, really helps in the team. I know they play a lot of minutes, but I think you need one of those two to sort of be the anchor, whether it's Michael in defense or Jeff in the midfield. You need one of those two to govern what's going on around them, and keep these young kids that don't get a lot of playing time, keep them in line. Because, we've got some talented kids, but they're not all smart. And I think Jeff and Michael are our 2 smartest players. So I would like to see one of them play and just sort of be that veteran, experienced player on the field that helps the players around them grow and get better. But yeah, looking forward to that game. Looking forward to seeing some of these players that don't play a lot get some time. Because that's always, I think that's one of the fun things about tournaments like this, where it's not as important as the league, is you do get to see some players that don't always play. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it, how well they're going to play. But yeah, that's about it for this game. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Atlanta United reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.